Why your body feels heavy even though you've done nothing physically demanding. Why your mind races the moment your head touches the pillow, rehearsing conversations that ended hours ago, replaying moments you wish you could change, or anticipating problems that haven't even happened yet. If you've ever found yourself trapped in this cycle, you're not alone. And what you're about to discover might completely transform the way you approach rest and healing. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. There's a doorway to healing that most people never find, not because it's hidden, but because they're moving too fast to notice it. This threshold doesn't open through effort or willpower. It doesn't respond to determination or discipline. In fact, the harder you try to force your way through it, the more firmly it closes. This doorway reveals itself only in moments of complete stillness, when the body finally releases the tension it's been gripping all day, and the mind loosens its desperate need to control every outcome. Has this ever happened to you? You finish your day feeling accomplished. You crossed items off your to-do list. You smiled through challenging conversations. You nodded in agreement, even when doubt whispered in your chest. On the surface, everything seems fine, but underneath, there's a weight you can't quite name. Your shoulders carry stories you've never spoken aloud. Your stomach holds guilt from choices made years ago. Your breath is shallow, compressed by fears that have quietly taken residence in your body without you consciously inviting them in. We walk through our days collecting these invisible burdens like stones in our pockets, and we wonder why we feel so heavy. By nightfall, we tell ourselves we'll deal with it tomorrow, that we'll rest when we have more time, that we'll finally let go when circumstances are perfect. But tomorrow never comes, does it? The perfect moment keeps postponing itself, and meanwhile, the weight accumulates. The body keeps score even when the mind pretends everything is manageable. What if I told you that healing doesn't begin with doing more, but with allowing less? What if the profound transformation you've been seeking isn't found in another technique, another meditation app, or another self-help strategy, but in learning to surrender to something far simpler and infinitely more powerful? Stay with me until the end, because what we're about to explore isn't just about getting better sleep. It's about fundamentally changing your relationship with rest, with your body, and with the relentless voice in your mind that insists you must always be fixing, doing, achieving. The ancient wisdom traditions understood something that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. True healing happens not in the light of conscious effort, but in the darkness of sacred surrender. And this journey begins by recognizing one simple truth that might surprise you. The truth is, we've become masters of postponement. We tell ourselves stories that sound reasonable, even noble. I'll rest when this project is finished. I'll slow down after this busy season. I'll take care of myself once things calm down. We've convinced ourselves that rest is something to be earned, a reward that comes after we've proven our worth through endless productivity. But here's the hidden truth that nobody talks about. Tomorrow never actually arrives as the magical moment of relief we're imagining. It stays perpetually on the horizon, always one more task away, one more obligation beyond reach. This isn't just procrastination. It's something far more profound. It's a fundamental misunderstanding about how healing actually works. We've been conditioned to believe that transformation requires struggle, that change demands force, that healing is something we must achieve through determination and willpower. But what if everything we've been taught about restoration is backwards? What if the very act of trying so hard to fix ourselves is exactly what's preventing us from getting better? Your body already knows how to heal. Think about it. When you cut your finger, you don't have to consciously instruct your cells to multiply. Your blood to clot, your skin to knit back together. You don't attend workshops on wound healing or read instruction manuals on tissue regeneration. The healing happens automatically, intelligently, perfectly, without any conscious effort from you. This same innate wisdom exists for every aspect of your being, not just physical wounds. The impact of this realization is staggering. Healing isn't something you do, it's something you allow. If this kind of depth resonates with you, content that actually addresses what's beneath the exhaustion, subscribe to this channel. This is where we explore the real truth about healing and rest. But here's where it gets interesting. The mind doesn't trust this natural process. It wants control. It wants proof. It wants to manage every detail, so it rehearses pain, replays trauma, anticipates problems, and creates elaborate strategies to prevent imagined disasters. And while the mind is busy doing all this supposedly protective work, it's actually blocking the very healing it claims to want. The body can't repair itself when the mind is in a constant state of emergency. The nervous system can't reset when thoughts keep triggering stress responses. The heart can't find its natural rhythm when the mind keeps conducting an orchestra of worry. This is the journey every person must eventually face, the decision to stop fighting their own system and start trusting it instead. Not tomorrow. Not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel more prepared or more deserving. Now, this present moment is when restoration becomes possible, when you finally give your body permission to do what it's been trying to do all along. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because what happens when you make this shift isn't just better sleep or less anxiety. It's a complete transformation in how you experience being alive. The revelations that emerge from this understanding change everything, from your daily decisions to your deepest beliefs about what healing really means. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to allow healing." Let me share something that might completely shift your perspective. You don't need to earn the right to rest. Read that again. You don't need to suffer enough, achieve enough, or prove yourself worthy enough to deserve healing. This is one of the most damaging beliefs embedded in our collective mindset, and it's keeping millions of people trapped in cycles of exhaustion and pain. Somewhere along the way, we internalized the idea that rest is a luxury, that peace must be purchased through productivity, that we can only allow ourselves to relax after we've checked every box on some impossible list. But here's the revelation that changes everything. Healing doesn't require your resume. It doesn't ask for credentials. It doesn't demand proof of your worthiness. The only thing healing asks for is permission, just permission. The willingness to stop the endless fixing, the constant improving, the relentless self-optimization, and simply be. That's it. That's the key that unlocks the door you've been trying to force open with effort and willpower. Think about what your life would look like if you actually gave yourself this permission. Imagine waking up one morning and the first thing you notice isn't the tightness in your chest or the mental checklist already forming before you've even opened your eyes. Instead, you feel morning light touching your face, and your first breath comes easily, naturally, without resistance. You're not bracing yourself for the day ahead. You're not already anticipating problems or rehearsing conversations or defending against imagined attacks. You're just there, present, breathing, at peace with your own existence. This isn't fantasy. This isn't some unattainable dream reserved for people who've somehow figured out a secret you don't have access to. This is the actual, tangible outcome of making one fundamental decision, the decision to stop fighting yourself and start allowing your natural state of wholeness to emerge. The transformation doesn't require years of therapy or expensive retreats or perfect conditions. It requires a shift in how you relate to your own being, a change in the agreement you've made with yourself about what you deserve. The impact of this shift ripples through every area of life. When you wake up genuinely rested, your decisions become clearer, your relationships soften, Your creativity flows more freely. Problems that seemed insurmountable the night before reveal themselves as manageable, not because the external circumstances changed, but because you're meeting them from a completely different internal state. You're operating from restoration instead of depletion, from trust instead of fear, from allowance instead of resistance. But there's something even more profound happening beneath the surface, something about the relationship between your conscious mind and the deeper intelligence that governs your healing. And this is where the real journey begins to unfold in ways you might not expect. Write in the comments, "I give myself permission." Let's look at what happens when we don't make this shift, because understanding the cost of staying where you are is just as important as seeing the possibility of transformation. Picture another night of tossing and turning, your mind replaying the same loops it's been running for months or even years. You wake up with that familiar heaviness in your chest, your heart already racing before you've remembered what day it is or what's on your schedule. The thoughts start immediately, like thorns pressing into your consciousness. Something is fundamentally wrong with me. I'll never figure this out. Everyone else seems to manage. Why can't I? This isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. These beliefs, when repeated night after night, become self-fulfilling prophecies. Your nervous system starts to expect distress. Your body learns that nighttime means vigilance rather than rest. The very act of lying down triggers anxiety because your system has been conditioned to associate that moment with mental torment. You've essentially trained yourself to suffer, not through any fault of your own, but because nobody ever taught you that there's another way. If something here shifted for you, if you felt even a small change in how you see rest or your body, hit that like button. It helps this reach others who need it. Here's what most people don't realize. Tension is a thief. It steals from you in ways that are difficult to measure but impossible to ignore. Every night you carry the day's burdens into darkness without consciously releasing them. Tension robs you of the restoration that should naturally occur during sleep. It takes your joy, your clarity, your resilience, your patience. It withdraws from your account of well-being until you're running on empty, wondering why you feel depleted no matter how many hours you spend in bed. The hidden truth behind this is profound. Your body cannot heal in the same environment where it was wounded. If you're lying in bed with your mind still in battle mode, still defending against threats real or imagined, still processing unfinished conflicts, your body receives a clear message. We're not safe yet. And when the body doesn't feel safe, it doesn't heal. It conserves, it protects, it stays on guard. The restorative processes that should happen automatically during sleep simply don't engage because your system is too busy preparing for the next attack. This is why people can sleep 8 hours and still wake up exhausted. The quantity of rest doesn't matter if the quality is compromised by a nervous system that never received permission to stand down. Your body needs more than just darkness and horizontal positioning. It requires silence from the mind's constant commentary, softness instead of rigidity, and above all, the genuine assurance of safety. Without these elements, sleep becomes just unconsciousness rather than true restoration, and the journey toward healing remains stuck at the starting line, waiting for conditions that you have the power to create right now. Write in the comments, "I choose restoration." So here's where most approaches to healing get it completely backwards. We've been trying to fix ourselves into wellness, to force ourselves into peace, to willpower our way into rest. But the mind that's constantly trying to fix itself is the exact same mind that can't relax. Think about that paradox for a moment. The very mechanism you're using to solve the problem is the mechanism creating it. It's like trying to calm turbulent water by stirring it faster. The effort itself generates more disturbance. Authentic rest doesn't come from trying harder. It emerges from trusting more deeply. And here's the compassionate truth that needs to be said. You haven't failed at healing. You haven't done anything wrong. You simply haven't yet felt secure enough to genuinely let go of control. And why would you? If you've spent years or decades learning that survival depends on vigilance, that safety requires constant monitoring, that letting your guard down leads to pain, of course you're going to grip tightly. It's not a character flaw, it's an intelligent survival strategy that served you once but now needs updating. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that transformation doesn't happen through force. It happens through gentleness. I've witnessed this pattern countless times in people who've genuinely shifted from suffering to peace. They didn't conquer their anxiety through sheer determination. They didn't defeat their insomnia through superior willpower. What they did was much simpler and infinitely more powerful. They began speaking to themselves with consistent gentleness. There are women who whispered, "I am safe," every single night, even when they didn't believe it, even when their bodies were screaming the opposite message. They didn't argue with their fear or try to logic their way out of it. They just repeated those 3 words with tenderness, like soothing a frightened child, night after night, week after week, until one day their bodies actually believed it. The transformation didn't come from striving. It came from tender repetition, from showing up with kindness even when nothing seemed to be changing. This principle works universally because our bodies don't respond to willpower. They respond to love. You can't bully your nervous system into calmness. You can't shame your mind into peace. But you can, through consistent gentleness, teach your entire being that it's finally safe to rest. The impact of this approach is profound because it works with your nature rather than against it, creating sustainable change instead of temporary suppression. Behind the scenes of every genuine healing journey, you'll find this same pattern. Someone who stopped fighting themselves and started befriending themselves instead. Someone who made the crucial decision to speak to their own suffering with compassion rather than criticism. Write in the comments, "I choose gentleness." But let's be honest about what's actually at stake here, because ignoring this isn't a neutral choice. Every single day you dismiss your body's quiet plea for ease. You're postponing a miracle that's already trying to happen. That exhaustion you're feeling isn't just tiredness. It's your system sending increasingly urgent messages that something needs to change. Another week drags by where you're running on fumes. Another pain flare emerges seemingly out of nowhere. Another conflict erupts with someone you love, not because either of you meant harm, but because you're both operating from a place of complete depletion. These aren't random occurrences. They're the compounding costs of denying yourself the fundamental need for restoration. It's like ignoring the check engine light in your car and then acting surprised when the vehicle breaks down. Your body has been flashing warning signals, and the longer you override them with caffeine and determination and "I'll rest when I'm dead" mentality, the higher the price becomes. The hidden truth is that rest isn't optional, it's foundational. You can postpone it, but you can't eliminate the need for it, and eventually the bill comes due. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because there's something remarkable that happens when you finally stop ignoring these signals and start listening. Healing, when you actually allow it, isn't some arduous process requiring years of effort and perfect conditions. It's natural. It's as organic as watching a wound close when you simply leave it undisturbed. You don't have to micromanage the cellular repair process. You don't have to consciously direct your immune system. You don't sit there focusing intently on making your skin knit back together. You just let it happen because your body already knows what to do. The same life force that repairs physical wounds can mend your exhausted mind and your overwhelmed heart. This isn't metaphorical, it's literal. The intelligence that governs your healing doesn't distinguish between a cut on your finger and the weariness in your soul. It addresses both when given the space to work. But here's what interrupts this natural process more than anything else: harsh self-judgment, the constant internal criticism, the relentless voice that says you're not doing enough, being enough, achieving enough. That voice creates stress hormones that directly interfere with restoration, turning your internal environment hostile to healing. The transformation that's possible when you stop this interference is nothing short of extraordinary. Ease becomes your medicine, not aggressive intervention, not forced positivity, not pushing through, just allowing your system to return to its natural state of balance. The impact of this shift extends far beyond just feeling less tired, and understanding what actually happens in those moments of genuine ease reveals something profound about the relationship between your conscious decisions and your body's wisdom. Write in the comments, "Ease is my medicine." There's a fundamental misunderstanding about what sleep actually is. Most people treat it as an escape, a temporary exit from the demands of life, a brief unconsciousness before returning to the battlefield. But that's not what sleep is designed to be. Sleep is a return to balance, to your natural state, to the equilibrium that gets disrupted by all the noise and demands of waking life. When you approach rest from this perspective, everything changes. Here's what's fascinating. When you rest in self-love rather than self-criticism, when you lie down without the mental inventory of everything you did wrong that day, life itself begins responding to you differently. This isn't wishful thinking or positive psychology fluff. There's actual biology behind this transformation. Your nervous system, when it finally receives the message that it's safe to rest, starts producing different chemical signals. Your body shifts from defense mode to restoration mode. And this shift doesn't end when you open your eyes in the morning. People who've made this journey report something remarkable. Mornings start to feel different. There's a luminosity to the light, a softness to the transition from sleep to waking. It's not that the sun is literally brighter. It's that you're perceiving it through a nervous system that isn't already flooded with stress hormones before you've left your bed. And the impact ripples outward in ways you might not expect. People around you respond to your calmness without consciously realizing why. There's something they sense in your presence, an absence of the usual tension that most people carry like armor. Children are particularly sensitive to this. They can feel when someone is genuinely at peace versus performing peace while their internal state is chaos. When you've actually done the work of allowing rest, when your system has returned to balance, the children in your life sense safety in your presence. They relax around you. Even your dreams change, shifting from the fragmented, anxious narratives that reflect an overwhelmed mind to something more coherent, more symbolic, sometimes even offering insights that your conscious mind couldn't access. This transformed state, this peace that emerges from genuine rest, becomes its own form of influence. It touches everything and everyone you encounter. And this is where people often get skeptical, thinking it sounds too good to be true. But the hidden truth is that this isn't fantasy, it's biology guided by thought. Your internal state literally shapes your external experience in measurable, concrete ways. The quality of your rest determines the quality of your attention, which determines the quality of your decisions, which determines the trajectory of your life. Behind the scenes of what looks like luck or circumstance, there's often just someone who's figured out how to return to balance consistently, and that balance creates opportunities that chaos obscures. Write in the comments, "I return to balance." Let me show you something practical that might seem too simple to be powerful, but I promise you it's not. Right now, wherever you are, place your hand on your heart. Just rest it there. Gently. Feel the rhythm beneath your palm. That steady beat that's been with you since before you had conscious memory, that will continue its faithful work whether you're awake or asleep, worried or calm. When you whisper to yourself, "I am safe to rest," While feeling that rhythm, something remarkable happens. You're not just saying words into empty space. You're creating a direct conversation between your conscious mind and the autonomous intelligence that's been keeping you alive all along. This simple act becomes tangible proof of something you may have forgotten. Healing already exists within you. It's not something you need to import from outside, not something you need to achieve or deserve. It's already there, waiting. It's been waiting patiently for your acknowledgement, for your permission to emerge fully and do what it was designed to do. The transformation begins the moment you recognize this truth and stop searching externally for what's been internal all along. But here's something equally important that needs to be said, something about forgiveness. You need to forgive yourself for all those nights you fought your own rest, for all the times you lay in bed with your mind racing, angry at yourself for not being able to just relax, frustrated with your body for not cooperating, ashamed of your inability to do something that seems so natural for everyone else. You didn't know another way. How could you? You were doing the best you could with the conditioning you received. We live in a culture that taught us strength means constant action, perpetual productivity, never showing weakness or need. We learned that allowing, receiving, and resting were somehow inferior qualities, signs of laziness or lack of ambition. This mindset gets embedded so deeply that even when we're exhausted, even when our bodies are literally begging for rest, we feel guilty about giving it to them. We demand proof that we've earned it first. We create impossible standards that must be met before we grant ourselves permission for basic restoration. True power doesn't lie in this relentless demanding. It lies in trusting love, trusting that your body's request for rest comes from wisdom, not weakness. Trusting that the universe isn't testing your worthiness every moment. Trusting that you can lay down your defenses without everything falling apart. This is the decision point where genuine transformation becomes possible, where you stop operating from the old programming and start writing new code based on compassion rather than criticism. And what emerges from this shift reveals layers of healing you didn't know were available. Write in the comments, "I forgive myself." There's a war many people are fighting that they don't even realize they're engaged in. A war against their own body. They treat it like an adversary that's betraying them, disappointing them, failing to meet their expectations. The body gains weight when they want it thin. It gets sick when they need it strong. It feels pain when they demand performance, and so they approach it with frustration, criticism, sometimes even hatred. But here's the revelation that changes everything about this relationship. Your body is not your enemy. It's your most faithful companion, the only thing that's been with you every single moment of your entire existence. Your body isn't punishing you when it signals exhaustion or pain. It's communicating. It's trying to serve you by telling you what it needs. When it feels tired, it's asking for rest. When it feels tense, it's asking for release. When it hurts, it's drawing your attention to something that needs care. These aren't attacks. They're messages from an ally that wants you to thrive. The transformation in your life, when you shift from fighting your body to partnering with it, is profound. Suddenly you're not at war anymore. You're in collaboration with a brilliant intelligence that has your best interests at heart. Tonight, what if you made a different decision? What if instead of overriding your body's signals one more time, instead of forcing it to comply with your demands, you allowed it to return to its innate wisdom, to restore what's been depleted, repair what's been damaged, renew what's been exhausted? The only thing preventing this from happening is your interference. Your body already knows how to do this. It's been trying to do this. You just need to stop getting in the way. Now, I want to go even deeper into what happens when you make this shift, because there's a common misconception about surrender that keeps people stuck in struggle. Surrendering control doesn't come from weakness or giving up. It comes from faith, from trusting that there's an intelligence operating that's wiser than your conscious mind's attempts to micromanage everything. Life has been trying to heal you every single night, even when you resist it, even when you lie there with your mind spinning and your body clenched. It keeps trying because that's its nature. When you finally stop fighting this process, when you consciously choose to work with it instead of against it, you experience something unmistakable. There's a warmth that spreads through your chest, not imagined, but physically felt. Your thoughts, which moments before were racing, begin to still. Your breath, which was shallow and restricted, deepens and comes with ease. These aren't metaphors. They're the actual sensations of your nervous system shifting from defense to restoration, the tangible impact of your decision to trust rather than control. And understanding what's happening in these moments reveals the hidden mechanics of how transformation actually works. Write in the comments, "My body is my ally." What if the entire problem could be solved by changing just one sentence? Instead of lying in bed tonight thinking, "I have to fix this," what if you whispered, "I allow life to love me"? At first, these words might feel foreign, even uncomfortable. Your mind might immediately protest, "That's too passive, that's not how things work, I need to take action." But stay with it. Repeat those words. Say them again and again until something shifts, until they stop feeling like hope and start resonating as truth. This isn't about positive thinking or affirmations that mask reality. This is about recognizing something fundamental. Peace isn't hiding somewhere outside of you, waiting to be discovered or achieved. It's not the reward at the end of some grueling journey. It's already present within you, has been all along, just buried under layers of effort and control and the exhausting belief that you have to manage everything yourself. The transformation happens when you stop chasing peace externally and start remembering it internally, when you shift from the mindset of fixing to the mindset of allowing. Behind the scenes of this simple phrase change, something profound is happening in your nervous system. You're literally rewriting the conversation between your mind and body. These two aren't strangers operating independently. They're intimate companions engaged in constant dialogue. Every single thought you think becomes a message that gets transmitted through your nerves, encoded in your heartbeat, carried on your breath. When you think something is wrong with me, your body receives that message and responds accordingly, creating tension, releasing stress hormones, preparing for threat. But when you think, "I allow life to love me," your body receives an entirely different message. It's like the difference between someone shouting commands at you versus someone speaking to you with tenderness. Your muscles respond differently, your breath responds differently, your heart responds differently. The body is always listening, always receiving these transmissions from your thoughts, and it responds with remarkable precision to the quality of the messages you send. Here's the hidden truth that changes everything. Rest doesn't begin when your body gets tired enough to collapse. Rest begins when your mind stops commanding and starts allowing, when it stops treating the body like a subordinate that needs to be controlled and starts treating it like the trusted companion it actually is. The impact of this shift extends beyond just better sleep. It fundamentally alters the relationship you have with yourself, which then alters every other relationship in your life, every decision you make, every path you choose. And understanding the mechanics of this conversation between thought and biology reveals something extraordinary about your capacity for self-directed healing. Write in the comments, "I allow life's love." Think about how you've been treating your body. Be honest. Have you been approaching it like a machine that should perform on demand, regardless of conditions? Push this button, get that result. Work harder, last longer, produce more. We've internalized this industrial mindset so completely that we don't even question it anymore. But here's what fundamentally changes everything. Your body isn't a machine. It's a garden. And gardens don't respond to demands, they respond to care. A garden blooms through natural rhythm, through seasons of growth and seasons of rest, through patient tending rather than forced production. You can't shout at a seed to grow faster. You can't punish soil into fertility. You can't demand that flowers bloom in winter. The garden follows its own intelligence, and when you work with that intelligence rather than against it, abundance follows naturally. Your body operates by the same principles. It cannot flower in exhausted soil. When you've depleted all your resources, when you've pushed past every signal to rest, when you've treated yourself like a machine that should just keep running, nothing blooms, everything withers. But watch what happens when the mind finally speaks softly to the body. There's an exhale, a release you can actually feel, as if the body itself is sighing in relief, finally remembered, finally honored, finally treated with the tenderness it's been craving all along. This shift in how you speak to yourself isn't superficial, it's transformational. It changes the entire internal environment from hostile to hospitable, from depleted to nourished. Now, I want to go even deeper into why this matters so much, because there's a hidden burden you've been carrying that's heavier than any physical work you do. Exhaustion doesn't come solely from the tasks you complete or the hours you work. It comes from the invisible, crushing weight of trying to earn peace. Think about that. You've been taught that you have to deserve rest, that you have to prove your worth before you're allowed to relax, that peace is a prize awarded only after you've met certain conditions. Society has sold us this story so effectively that we never question it. We just accept that rest must be earned through productivity, through achievement, through being valuable enough. But here's the revelation that dismantles this entire system. Peace is not a prize. It's a birthright. You were born deserving it, just as you were born deserving breath and nourishment. You cannot earn what you inherently are. The journey toward healing isn't about becoming worthy. It's about remembering that you already were, and recognizing how this false belief has been stealing your energy and your life force for years, keeping you in a cycle that benefits everyone except you. Write in the comments, "Peace is my birthright." There's a subtle but crucial distinction that most people miss entirely, and it's the difference between truly resting and just collapsing from exhaustion. Rest doesn't mean doing nothing. That's not what's happening when you genuinely rest. What's actually occurring is that you're allowing everything, allowing life's natural intelligence to take over the operations you've been trying to micromanage. You're stepping back so that the same profound rhythm that governs tides and planets, that moves the seasons and guides migration patterns, can do its work within you. This intelligence doesn't need your conscious supervision to transform your breath into restoration. It doesn't require your input to regulate your heartbeat, to digest your food, to repair cellular damage. It's been handling these processes since before you had language to name them. The transformation happens when you finally get out of its way, when you trust that there's a wisdom operating that's infinitely more sophisticated than your conscious mind's attempt to control everything. This is the hidden truth behind genuine rest. It's an act of profound trust, a decision to partner with life rather than trying to override it. But here's where most people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They know they need to relax. They're aware that tension is destroying them, so they lie in bed commanding themselves, "Relax, just calm. Down, stop thinking." And then they wonder why it doesn't work, why peace seems to drift further away the harder they demand it. The revelation that changes this entire dynamic is understanding that your nervous system cannot relax under command. It's biologically impossible. You cannot shout yourself into serenity. Peace doesn't respond to demands or threats or ultimatums. It responds to gentleness. It enters quietly, the way dusk settles over a landscape, gradually, naturally, without announcement or fanfare. You don't force dusk to arrive, you simply notice when the light begins to soften. The same principle applies to rest. You cannot demand it into existence. You can only create the conditions where it naturally emerges, and those conditions require speaking to yourself in an entirely different language. We must learn to speak to ourselves in comfort's language rather than control's demands. This means noticing when that harsh internal voice starts barking orders and consciously choosing to speak differently instead. The impact of this single shift cannot be overstated. It's the difference between a nervous system that stays perpetually on guard and one that finally feels safe enough to stand down. Behind the scenes of every person who's genuinely transformed their relationship with rest, you'll find this same pattern. Someone who stopped commanding and started coaxing, someone who traded the whip for a whisper. And what unfolds from this gentleness reveals possibilities that force could never access. Write in the comments, I speak with gentleness. For many people, stillness is terrifying. They've lived so long in constant tension, in perpetual motion, in the noise of endless doing, that when they finally encounter quiet, it feels wrong. Dangerous even. Their system has been conditioned to equate activity with safety, busyness with importance, constant movement with being alive. So when stillness arrives, when there's finally a moment of genuine quiet, the mind immediately fills it with panic. Something must be wrong. I should be doing something. This emptiness is unbearable. But here's the revelation that transforms this fear into invitation. Stillness isn't empty, not even close. It's actually brimming with wisdom that's been waiting patiently for your attention, wisdom that couldn't reach you through all the noise you've been generating. Think about it. When can you actually hear the subtle signals from your body? When can you sense the next right decision? When can deep insight surface? Only in stillness, only when you stop drowning out these quieter frequencies with constant mental chatter and physical activity. This is when the body performs its finest work. In these moments of genuine quiet, when the mind finally trusts enough to step aside, your system engages in profound repair and reset processes. Inflammation decreases, stress hormones normalize, neural pathways reorganize, creative solutions to problems emerge. Seemingly out of nowhere. This isn't mystical, it's biological. Your system has different modes of operation, and the healing, integrating, restoring mode can only activate when you're not running emergency protocols. Now, I want to go even deeper into understanding why this matters so profoundly for the quality of your entire life. Think of life as a symphony. In music, it's not just the notes that create beauty, it's the pauses between the notes. Those moments of silence give the music meaning, shape, emotional impact. Without the rests, without those deliberate pauses, even the most technically perfect performance becomes overwhelming noise. You can't distinguish the themes, can't feel the emotional journey, can't experience the full power of the composition. Your life follows the same principle. Rest doesn't interrupt your productivity, it gives shape to your days. It creates the contrast that allows effort to have meaning. Without rest, without those deliberate pauses, all your effort degenerates into exhausting noise. You lose the ability to distinguish what matters from what doesn't. Everything becomes equally urgent, equally demanding, equally draining. The transformation that occurs when you begin honoring stillness is profound. Harmony returns to your actions. Meaning returns to your existence. You stop feeling like you're just making noise and start feeling like you're creating something intentional, something beautiful. The impact of this understanding extends far beyond just feeling less tired, and recognizing how rest and effort work together as complementary forces rather than opposing ones reveals the hidden architecture of a life well lived. Write in the comments, I honor stillness. We need to dismantle one of the most damaging beliefs that keeps people trapped in exhaustion, the idea that rest equals laziness. This association runs so deep in our cultural programming that even when people are collapsing from fatigue, they feel guilty about resting. They apologize for needing sleep. They justify taking breaks as if they're committing some moral failure. But here's the truth that changes everything. Rest is not laziness. It's deep participation in life's fundamental rhythm. It's faith made visible. Look at nature if you doubt this. The earth rests in winter, pulling all its energy inward, appearing dormant while actually preparing for spring's explosion of growth. The moon rests in its new phase, invisible in the sky, but still present, still influencing tides and cycles. Even the ocean rests in the pause between waves, that brief moment of stillness before the next surge. Nothing in nature apologizes for these rhythms. Nothing in nature tries to be summer all year long or constantly at high tide. These pauses aren't weakness, they're wisdom. To rest is to trust the same intelligence governing all things. It's to recognize that you're not exempt from these universal principles just because you have a busy schedule or big ambitions. The transformation occurs when you stop seeing rest as something working against your goals and start recognizing it as the very thing making those goals sustainable. This is faith in action, trusting that the rhythm knows what it's doing, that the pause is as essential as the activity, that you don't have to hold everything together through sheer force of will. But I know the mind doesn't surrender easily. Even when you understand this intellectually, the thoughts still come. Don't they? The worries, the what-ifs, the replaying of conversations, the anticipating of problems. So let me give you something practical, something you can return to tonight and every night. Imagine each worry as a leaf, not a boulder you have to carry, not a problem you have to solve right this moment, just a leaf, light, temporary, resting on the surface of a slow, quiet stream. Watch these leaves in your mind's eye. Don't try to grab them or analyze them or fix what they represent. Just watch them drift away, carried by something much larger than yourself. The current knows where it's going. It's been moving water since rivers were formed. You don't need to direct it. Don't need to chase those leaves downstream to make sure they're properly dealt with. The current handles it. All you do is watch as each worry, each mental loop, each anxious thought floats past and gradually disappears around the bend. One by one the surface clears. What remains isn't emptiness, it's calm. And in that calm, healing becomes possible. The journey from perpetual mental noise to this clear, quiet space is where real transformation happens, where the decisions you make come from wisdom rather than panic. And understanding how to navigate this internal landscape reveals something profound about your capacity to shape your own experience. Write in the comments, "I trust the current." There's a profound misunderstanding about what night actually is. Most people see it as simply the absence of daylight, a void where nothing productive happens, time to get through so they can return to the real work of living. But night isn't an absence, it's a presence. It's the presence of divine care, of life's deeper intelligence taking over the operations you've been trying to consciously control all day. This is when the most essential work happens, the work you can't see or measure, but that determines everything about your health, your clarity, your capacity to function. Life doesn't stop when you close your eyes. It shifts into a different gear, begins deeper work that can only occur when your conscious mind finally steps back. Every cell in your body continues its perfect rhythm. Your immune system patrols with renewed vigilance. Your brain processes and integrates the day's experiences, deciding what to keep and what to release. Your organs coordinate in seamless harmony, each performing its specific function while supporting all the others. The universe itself hums through you. During these hours, repairing what was damaged, blessing what was depleted, restoring what was exhausted. This isn't poetic exaggeration, it's biological fact. The transformation that occurs during genuine rest is more profound than anything you accomplish through conscious effort. The hidden truth is that you're never more alive, never more connected to the intelligence that created you than in these moments of surrender. The impact extends far beyond just feeling refreshed in the morning. It's literally rebuilding you from the cellular level up, rewiring neural pathways, recalibrating emotional responses, resetting your entire system. Now, I want to go even deeper into what makes this possible, because there's a freedom in understanding that you don't need to comprehend every mechanism of healing for it to work. You don't need a PhD in cellular biology. You don't need to understand exactly how your immune system identifies and neutralizes threats. You don't need to consciously direct the process of protein synthesis or hormone regulation. Life knows, your body knows. These systems have been refining their wisdom for millions of years of evolution. They're infinitely more sophisticated than your conscious mind's attempt to manage them. All you need to do is create space for this wisdom to operate. That's it. That's the entire requirement. When you finally release the compulsion to manage everything, to control every outcome, to supervise every process, you return to harmony. And in harmony, all things naturally heal, not through forcing or fixing, but through alignment. The journey from discord to harmony isn't about learning new techniques or acquiring more knowledge. It's about removing the obstacles you've been placing in the path of your own restoration, and recognizing what those obstacles actually are reveals the most surprising truth about what's been preventing your healing all along. Write in the comments, "I create space for healing." You know what's going to happen tonight, right? You'll lie down, you'll start to relax, and then it comes that familiar voice in your head asking, "Did I forget something? Should I have sent that email? What about tomorrow's meeting?" This is the mind's last-ditch effort to maintain control, to keep you engaged in the endless management of life. But here's what changes everything. Instead of arguing with this voice or getting frustrated by it, what if you smiled at it the way you'd smile at a restless child fighting? Bedtime? The child isn't being difficult out of malice. They're just scared of letting go, uncertain about what happens when they stop being vigilant. So you don't scold them. You speak gently. You say with kindness, "We can think about that tomorrow. Tonight we rest." And something remarkable happens. The child learns safety from your calm. They begin to trust that it's okay to stop, that nothing terrible will happen if they close their eyes. Your thoughts work exactly the same way. They're not your enemy. They're just scared, and they're waiting for you to demonstrate that it's safe to let go. This gentle response is the transformation point, where you stop being at war with your own mind and start becoming its loving guide. The impact of this shift is immediate and tangible. The thoughts, which were escalating moments before, begin to settle. Not because you forced them down, but because you responded to their underlying fear with reassurance rather than resistance. Behind the scenes, of every person who's genuinely overcome insomnia or chronic anxiety, you'll find this same pattern. Someone who learned to parent their own thoughts with tenderness. Now I want to go even deeper into why this matters beyond just getting better sleep. There's a pervasive guilt that stops people from resting, a voice that whispers, "You're being selfish, you're abandoning your responsibilities, others are depending on you." But here's the hidden truth that dismantles this guilt completely. You're not abandoning responsibility when you rest. You're refilling the vessel from which all your goodness flows. Think about it. Every act of love, every moment of patience, every creative solution, every kind word comes from an internal reservoir. When that reservoir runs dry, you have nothing left to give, no matter how much you want to help or how much others need you. Even love itself, to stay true and genuine, must rest. Love that never rests becomes resentment. Compassion that never pauses becomes burnout. Strength that never recovers becomes fragility. The journey toward sustainable giving, toward being genuinely useful to the people you care about, requires this regular return to your own center. Let your breath's rhythm become your guide right now. Feel how each cycle naturally softens the sharp edges of the day, how inhaling brings renewal and exhaling releases what no longer serves. And understanding this rhythm reveals something profound about the natural intelligence already operating within you. Write in the comments, "I refill my vessel." Let me give you something tangible you can use tonight, a practice that bridges the gap between understanding these concepts and actually experiencing them in your body. Close your eyes for a moment if you're able, or simply soften your gaze. Envision a soft golden light above you, not harsh or bright, but gentle, like late afternoon sun filtering through leaves. Watch this light begin to flow down through the crown of your head, warm and liquid, moving with patience and love. Feel it descend through your shoulders, those faithful weight-bearers that have carried so much for you. The light whispers to every cell it touches, "You are safe now. You can release. You can rest." It flows into your heart, that tireless muscle that's been beating for you since before you had memory, and it says, "I see your faithfulness. I honor your work. You are loved." This isn't imagination. This is you consciously directing your awareness to create the felt experience of safety that your nervous system has been craving. Watch the light continue its journey, moving slowly and lovingly through your entire being until every part of you glows with quiet ease. This visualization isn't escapism or fantasy. It's a deliberate practice of creating the internal conditions where healing naturally occurs. You're telling your body, through sensation and imagery, that it's finally safe to stand down, that life itself is supporting you fully. The transformation happens not through the perfection of the technique, but through the sincerity of your intention. Behind the scenes, your nervous system responds to this gentle attention by releasing stress hormones and activating repair mechanisms. Now, I want to go even deeper into what this practice actually represents. Sleep, when approached this way, becomes trust in action. It's not just unconsciousness or time passing. It's you actively choosing to trust that the universe can hold you while you rest, that life will continue its work without your constant supervision. When you practice this nightly, something fundamental shifts. Trust stops being an abstract concept and becomes the actual foundation of your existence, the bedrock from which peace emerges and healing occurs even while you dream. Tonight, when you lie down, whisper to yourself with genuine tenderness, "It is safe to rest. I have done enough for today." Don't rush these words. Let them settle into you. Like a lullaby, like the voice of someone who loves you unconditionally, speaking directly to your weary heart. Say them again until you feel something soften, until your breath deepens naturally, until the grip you've been maintaining all day finally loosens. These aren't just nice-sounding phrases. They're declarations that rewrite the agreement you've made with yourself about what you deserve and what's required of you. And understanding how this simple practice creates cascading effects throughout your entire system reveals the hidden power you've always possessed to direct your own healing. There's a relationship you've been in your entire life that you might have been taking for granted, or worse, actively resenting. It's your relationship with your body. Think about how you've been treating this faithful companion. Have you been speaking to it with criticism and disappointment? Have you been pushing it beyond its limits while calling that discipline? Have you been viewing it as a burden, something that's constantly letting you down, betraying your expectations? But here's the profound truth that changes everything about this dynamic. Your body isn't a burden. It's a friend who has walked beside you through every single season of your life. Every scar on your skin tells a story of healing it accomplished for you. Every breath proves its unwavering commitment to keeping you alive. Every pulse of your heart demonstrates loyalty beyond anything you could find in another human being. It has carried you faithfully through joy and sorrow, through triumph and trauma, through periods when you honored it and long stretches when you forgot to even acknowledge its existence. Tonight, what if you granted it the simplest gift, your permission to finally rest? Not grudging permission, not conditional permission based on whether you think you've earned it, but wholehearted, loving permission. The transformation that occurs when you shift from viewing your body as an adversary to recognizing it as your most devoted ally is nothing short of revolutionary. Suddenly you're not fighting yourself anymore. You're in partnership with a wisdom that has kept you alive against incredible odds. And here's something practical that amplifies this shift exponentially. Begin thanking each part of yourself, not abstractly, but specifically. Thank your feet for holding you steady through every step of this long day. Thank your legs for carrying you through moments of both challenge and celebration. Thank your stomach for its endurance, for processing not just food, but so much unspoken emotion. Thank your heart for beating faithfully through every feeling you've experienced, the joy, the grief, the fear, the love, never once abandoning you. Thank your shoulders for finally being willing to release the burdens you've been asking them to carry. Watch what happens as you do this. It's remarkable. Your body responds to this love immediately and unmistakably. You'll feel warmth spreading through areas that have been numb. You'll notice loosening in muscles that have been clenched for so long you forgot what relaxation felt like. You might even hear gentle sighs escaping your lips as your system exhales tension it's been holding for months or years. This isn't imagination. It's your body receiving the acknowledgement it's been craving, responding to love in the only way it knows how, by opening, softening, trusting. The impact of this practice extends far beyond the immediate sensation of relief and understanding what's actually happening at the cellular level when you express gratitude reveals the hidden mechanics of how appreciation literally changes your biology. There's a shift in perspective that changes everything about how you experience being alive, and it starts with reimagining what your body actually is. You've been treating it like a prison, haven't you? A limitation, a source of problems, something that restricts you and causes you pain. But what if you've had it backwards this entire time? What if your body isn't a prison but a cathedral, a sacred space where divine intelligence performs constant miracles every single moment? Even right now, as you're sitting here, as you're breathing, as you're listening, extraordinary things are happening inside you. Your immune system is patrolling with sophisticated precision, identifying and neutralizing threats you'll never consciously know existed. Your cells are exchanging energy and information in patterns that would look like light if you could see them at that scale. Your organs are cooperating in quiet harmony, each performing its unique function while supporting all the others in a symphony of biological brilliance that no human technology has come close to replicating. What wonder emerges when you finally stop arguing with yourself, when you cease the internal warfare and start witnessing the miracle that you are. This is the transformation that occurs when you shift from resentment to reverence, from criticism to awe. The impact isn't just emotional, it's physical. The body responds differently when it's honored rather than condemned, when it's treated as sacred rather than defective. Behind the scenes of every genuine healing journey, you'll find this same revelation. Someone who discovered they were living in a cathedral and had been treating it like a dungeon. Now, I want to go even deeper into something that most people completely misunderstand. Something that causes unnecessary suffering because we've interpreted it all wrong. When your body gets sick, when pain shows up, when symptoms emerge that disrupt your life, the immediate reaction is usually, "Why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? My body is betraying me." But here's the hidden truth that transforms suffering into information. Sickness is not punishment, it's communication. Your body isn't attacking you when it creates symptoms. It's speaking to you, using the only language it has beyond words. It's creating imbalance to guide you back toward harmony because you weren't listening to the quieter signals. Every ache, every illness, every flare-up is actually an invitation. Please slow down. You've been running too hard for too long. Please forgive. You're still carrying resentment that's poisoning you from the inside. Please love me again. I've been trying to serve you faithfully while you've been treating me with contempt. These messages are never cruel. They're always seeking your healing attention, trying to redirect you toward what you actually need. The journey from viewing symptoms as enemies to recognizing them as messengers is where real transformation becomes possible, and understanding how to listen to what your body is actually trying to tell you reveals a whole new way of navigating health and healing. Write in the comments, "I listen to my body." What if I told you that you have the power to rewrite your entire internal reality with just a few words? Not someday, not after you've done more work or learned more techniques, but right now. Each gentle word you speak to yourself literally rewrites the dialogue between your mind and body. This isn't metaphorical, it's neurological. Every time you replace harsh criticism with tender acknowledgement, you're creating new neural pathways, establishing new patterns of communication between your conscious awareness and your physical form. Try this right now. Whisper to yourself out loud if you can, "My body is my friend. It knows how to heal me when I allow it." Say it again and again. Don't analyze whether you believe it yet. Just let the words move through you. Notice what happens. You might feel warmth beginning to fill your chest. You might notice your breathing naturally deepening. You might sense tension you didn't even know you were holding start to release. This is the transformation happening in real time, the relationship shifting from conflict to partnership, from resistance to cooperation. The impact of this simple practice, repeated consistently, is profound. You're not just changing your thoughts, you're changing the entire operating system of how your mind and body relate to each other. Behind the scenes, stress hormones decrease, inflammatory markers shift, immune function improves. All because you decided to speak differently to yourself. This is the hidden power of kindness, the revelation that gentleness is strength, not weakness, and that the words you use internally matter more than almost anything else you do externally. Now, I want to go even deeper into the bigger picture, because understanding this practice within the context of life's fundamental rhythm changes everything about how you approach not just sleep, but your entire existence. There's an eternal cycle that governs all of life: rest, renewal, and rising. You see it everywhere once you start looking. The sun sets, darkness renews the earth, dawn rises. Winter rests, spring renews, summer rises. The ocean pulls back, gathers itself, surges forward. This isn't random, it's the fundamental rhythm of existence itself. Your body remembers this rhythm instinctively. It's encoded in every cell, this ancient knowing that rest leads to renewal, which enables rising. Your mind is learning to trust this rhythm, slowly releasing its belief that constant pushing is the only way forward. And your soul rejoices when you finally align with this natural cycle, because it recognizes that you're not separate from this rhythm. You are its living expression. Life moves through you, restoring itself in your awareness, using you as a vessel for its endless creativity and renewal. The journey you're on isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about remembering what's always been true and recognizing how every decision to rest ripples outward into every aspect of your existence in ways you're only beginning to understand. Write in the comments, "I am the rhythm." If you're still here, still listening, still breathing with me through these words, then something in this message resonated with you. Maybe it named something you've been feeling but couldn't articulate. Maybe it offered permission you've been waiting for someone to give you. Maybe it simply reminded you of a truth you'd forgotten, that rest isn't weakness, that your body is your ally, that healing is always available when you stop fighting it. This kind of content, these conversations about transformation and the hidden mechanics of how we actually heal, they're what I'm committed to bringing you. Not surface-level tips or quick fixes, but the deeper understanding that creates lasting change. If that's valuable to you, if you want more of these explorations into what it actually takes to live with more peace, more presence, more genuine well-being, then subscribe to this channel. You'll find a community here that's on the same journey, asking the same questions, discovering the same profound truths about what it means to be human. And if you made it all the way through this video, if you stayed with me through every revelation and every gentle invitation to see yourself differently, leave a comment and simply write, "I choose to remember." That phrase captures what this entire conversation has been about, not learning something new, but remembering what you've always known. When I see that comment, I'll know this message reached someone who was ready for it, and that matters more than you might realize. If something shifted for you today, if you felt even a moment of softening or recognition or hope, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps this message find others who need to hear it. And it tells me you value this kind of depth in a world that often only offers shallow solutions. There's another video right here that takes this conversation even further, exploring what happens when you actually begin living from this place of trust, rather than just understanding it intellectually. The transformation continues there, and I'd love for you to join me. Click, and let's keep going together. The journey's just beginning, and the best part is what comes next when you actually start applying these truths to your life. I'll see you there.